Welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey, a weekly podcast featuring real and practical spiritual conversations from fresh perspectives here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. Today, episode 283, What is Good? And now your host, Reverend Cynthia Alice Anderson.
Hello and welcome to the Authentic Spiritual Journey. My name is Cynthia Alice Anderson. I'm the host. I'm here today in my home studio in Orlando, Florida. Today is a beautiful sunny day in Orlando. I was out this morning kayaking and being on the water. It was just a blast. So I hope wherever you are, you were having fun and that you were able to start the day off right with spending some time alone in your spiritual journey and perhaps enjoying all the good the universe has for you. So welcome to the show. It is, believe it or not, the Authentic Spiritual Journey, show 283, and today is November 20th. I can't believe where this year has gone. Anyway, friends, welcome to the show. It's like I'm already thinking about the end of the year, and between Thanksgiving and Christmas, it'll be a super busy time here in the U.S. I know if you're living abroad, you're saying, Thanksgiving? What is that? Anyway, so friends, we're glad you're along with us for the journey, and we're always honored to support you. We appreciate the opportunity to be there for you on the journey, to lift you up, and give you some things to think about. You know, as we're on this journey together, it's really wonderful to hear from you, and often when people send in financial support, they send a little note about what the show means and how they're applying it. So I thank you for that. I thank you for that, especially this time of year where we're really focusing on gratitude. It lifts my spirits and makes my heart grateful. So thank you so much. So today for show 283, the title of today is, What is Good? What is good? What is good? I don't know why that makes me laugh, but it does. What is good? So if I said to you right now, what is good in your life? What might you say? What is good in your life? Yeah, what might you say? I've really discovered that when I ask myself a question, my mind tries to solve the problem. And there was a guy years ago that taught me, I think I can't remember I think he called it, instead of affirmations, I think he called it afformations. But what he said worked for him in his process was to phrase what he was thinking about in the form of a question. And then as he answered the question, that became his affirmation, right? So instead of trying to force information in, what he would do is ask himself a question and let his mind fill it in. Or in this case, as we're speaking of, let his soul fill it in, right? Like contacting the higher self. So what prompted me to bring today's show was a scripture that has been coming to me really regularly. I just used it in a message recently when I was speaking, and I also recently reread it in a book called Lessons in Truth by the Dr. H. Emily Cady. Her last name, Cady, is spelled Cady. I had a cat I named after her at one point. But in her book, Lessons in Truth, she says in each of the lessons to not worry too much about the things you disagree with. Focus on what's good. Focus on what's lovely. You know, in other words, have the higher thoughts. And so what she was quoting really is Philippians 4:8. And I'm going to read it to you. This is from the New International Version, Philippians 4:8, which says, Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. I'm going to read that one more time. Finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. Philippians 4:8, New International Version. I think this scripture is really about understanding the human nature to notice what's wrong, what's not working. It's about human nature wanting to gossip about others and judge everybody around you. That said, I believe the writers of Scripture also knew that when we focus our minds on the good, on these higher ideals, right? I love that word noble. Like, that's a word we don't hear a lot in today's society. To me, there's not a lot of nobility, what I would think of as true nobility in our society as a whole. Even with the royal family that gets talked about, there's ceremony, but not what I would call true nobility. So if I were to ask you right now, what is on your mind right now? What is your focus? What might you say? What are you ruminating over, wondering about, and maybe mad about? I had a recent discussion with a friend, and it's kind of a charged issue, and it doesn't really, for our purposes, matter what the issue is. But what I noticed is that every time I get together with this friend, we want to get churned up around this issue. So think about that. Where is your mind right now? What is your mind on right now? Where is your focus in life in general? Sometimes when I'm working with a new concept, or maybe I've had a time of emotional turmoil, or, there's a decision I have to make, I find myself wanting to ruminate over that thought. I ruminate and think about, and sometimes I journal about it, And the powerful lesson for the soul is, whatever I put my focus on, I get more of, right? I mean, it could not be more simple. So put simply, whatever I put my focus on, that's what I get more of. And friends, that is truth. I've also learned that not just my thoughts focusing on it, but my emotions as well. And when I add emotion to a thought, it gets supercharged. It gets magnified, right? So emotions are like fuel for thoughts, right? It's like it adds all this power and all this energy. So if I know that what I focus on, I'm going to get more of, if I know that when I add emotion to it, it magnifies it, it empowers it, it even kind of superpowers it at times, depending on the level of emotion, what we're talking about, what we're thinking about. Wouldn't it be a good idea to focus on what is good, what is true, what is right, what is pure? If we could focus on the good, wouldn't that be a great idea? What if we realized we were in charge of receiving our own blessing? That God was not keeping anything from us. I think we often think that if we could just do it right, then the universe would bless me, or then God would bless me. God would send me down a little present if I did it right, in the form of a blessing. Like if I do it right, God will send down a blessing. What we forget is how powerful we are in terms of creating our own reality. And when we begin to consciously choose our thoughts, and you heard me kind of pause on that, when we consciously choose our thoughts, we are able to then magnify the energy. We are able to direct the energy to a certain situation, outcome, vision. We even, as we align our feelings, are in fact forming this vibrational reality that the universe has to answer. It's like we forget often that we live in a cause and effect universe. We live in a cause and effect universe, which means whatever we do, that's the energy we get back. As the scriptures say, forgive and you will be forgiven, judge and you will be judged. In the Eastern teachings, there's talk of karma, right? That's what the law of cause and effect is about. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. This is what science tells us. So if you want more good in your life, friends, focusing on the good is going to help get you there. It won't be the only thing, but it will be an important indicator. It'll be an important practice. Let me say it this way. It'll be an important practice to begin to move you forward. You'll receive inward and outward affirmation and indicators that you're on the right track. And anytime you're heading a direction, anytime you're seeking to manifest, there's often something that also needs to be released in the process. So you're thinking about whatever's good, whatever's right, whatever's holy, whatever's lovely, whatever's true. As you're focusing on those things, it's like you're going to start to see a chasm between what's holy and what is not holy. You're going to see a separation between what is helping and what is not helping. So simple, right? You're going to see a difference between yes and yeah, but. So it's amazing how the mind and the emotions work in cooperation with the soul and its desire. I think I can say with confidence that each of us on the journey right now, especially each of us seriously on a journey to self-awareness, a journey of enlightenment, this journey of spirituality that we really do seek to make the world a better place. We seek for life to work, for our relationships to be good, full of harmony and joy and fun and love. And certainly, we want inner peace. All of us, I would say, could agree to those things. So to do that, it's going to take daily practice. It's going to take conscious awareness. It is also going to take a great deal of spiritual fortitude and wisdom as you move through. Because if you're seeking to live a better life, if you're seeking to live a spiritual life, if you are intentional about your relationships, about cooperation and collaboration, then to become a conscious being, you are going to want to align your thoughts, your feelings, your beliefs, and your ideas with this state of being and this state of consciousness. So if you're driving, don't do this next part, but if you're sitting at your desk or you're at home, take a moment and think right now, what is good, and write it down. I'm doing that practice myself right now. What is good? Write it down. Is there anything in your life right now that is noble or that is true? Think about that. What is true? What is noble? What is right? What is pure? What is lovely? The interesting thing about Scripture, I know many of us have a tough history with the Bible, how it was possibly used against us. But I really enjoy the fact that I've read the Bible my whole life and continue to read it. And it's interesting how certain words over my journey, or certain words from the Bible, rather, over my journey have kind of leapt off the page when I was working on something. There was a time in my life where this is many years ago, maybe, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago at least. And I was working on a concept of really being able to honor myself, appreciating myself, and noticing beauty in myself and around me. And one of the things that prompted that was the line in Philippians 4:8 that says, "Whatever is lovely." And there was something about that word, it just touched my heart. It's like, what's lovely? It was so sweet. Whatever's pure, whatever's lovely. It's not a word we use a lot, although I have a dear friend that I took out to a nice restaurant one time, and she and her husband are good friends, and she goes, "Oh, well, this is lovely." And I said, "It is." And I've noticed that when I surround myself with beautiful things, meaning friends, art, flowers, roses from my rose garden, or flowers in my home, I feel lifted. I feel elegant. I feel, I don't know, connected to something larger that has meaning and significance. For me, plants, flowers, good art, all these things do that. I have a family member who was an artist, and it was an aunt. She recently passed in the last year, and her art is all over my home. It's in my office. It's in my bathroom, my bedroom, my living room. I have many of her pieces. And one of the things she would do is she lived up in the mountains of North Carolina, and she would go down to the river. As a matter of fact, her sons taught me how to fish barehanded. Anyway, she'd go down to the river and find a piece of slate that was fairly flat and paint on it. As a matter of fact, I'll put a picture in the show notes. There's a small little painting in my office. It's a painting of a rose on a flat piece of slate from the river. And the fact that she saw beauty and something so gentle and graceful could belong on that, hard, ancient rock has always meant something to me. So I have it in my office as a reminder to grow. I have it in my office as a reminder of, our development as a soul. That rose is a perfect symbol of how our soul unfolds. It's just beautiful. So that one phrase, whatever is lovely, think on these things. So think about that. Is there anything in the scripture that might be speaking to you? It's so important as we develop on the spiritual journey to simply let ourselves wonder about such things. It's like give ourselves space to experience what might be here for me at this time. For you, a word might have jumped out like the word excellent. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, like maybe you've been really down in the dumps and, you're having body image issues, or you're feeling like there's not enough money, or, something's really getting to you at work. Well, the way to turn that around, it's like, again, we're so in the driver's seat of the spiritual journey. The way to turn that around is to focus on what is excellent, to focus on what is praiseworthy, and then add that emotion to it, add that feeling to it, and see how that just shifts your perspective and state of mind. We've talked about this idea, on several occasions, and I keep coming back to in my work this idea of shifting mindset. And even though I've worked with these ideas for many years, like I remember, I think when I was 16, I read my first book about setting goals and being able to accomplish things, through using prayer and working with your thoughts and feelings, to create your life and world. And that if you just could see things differently, you might experience them differently as well. So I find this process personally to be quite freeing. I find it to be a way to feel and own my spiritual power. I also find it to be exciting to see how the universe will support what it is I hold in mind, right? It assures me that I'm not alone. It assures me that I'm being guided. It assures me that the universe is interested in who I am and what I'm doing. It's like I just breathe a sigh of relief. I go, oh, yeah, good. It's like remembering to do this work. And this, again, is the work of becoming conscious. But I want to encourage you, it may not be the scripture, it might be a reading, it might be a special poem. I just find, as much as the Bible is misunderstood, I find that the Bible is full of wisdom for my life and for my world. This scripture has always meant a lot to me. It seems like the scripture itself is calling the people it's written to, the church at Philippi, and to me personally today, it's like something was written that long ago, right? Thousands, couple thousand years ago. It was written that long ago, and today it still has meaning. Well, to me, that is truth. To me, that is a higher way of being. And what I've noticed is that anything that is a high truth, some of the ideas that we have seen that, originate with Jesus have been continued through all the great leaders in history. All the great thinkers, from, scientists to theologians to nuns. I was thinking, of course, of Mother Teresa or Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. or Gandhi. That interestingly, all the same ideas begin to coalesce, and that not only are they the same ideas, but they are lasting from generation to generation. So my work as a soul is to see which piece of this wisdom is mine to really work at this time. And by work, I mean embody. Sometimes I say soul work and it sounds punitive. I don't mean for it to. Really what I'm saying is soul work is exciting. It's fun. It helps me grow. And sometimes one simple verse like this, Philippians 4:8. I remember I first started studying this scripture, that I actually remember studying it. I was in 5th grade. The first scripture I memorized, that was a long scripture, was the first chapter of John. And this is one of the first verses that had an impact on me. I felt like the scripture itself was saying, there's more to focus on than what's not working. And I was pretty miserable for a lot of school. I felt like I'd lost my culture. I was taken out of my school and put in a private school where the girls wore dresses every day, and, the boys had haircuts off the collar and over the ear. And, it was very, very strict setting. We had chapel every day. We read the Bible every day. But I'll tell you, sometimes these verses were just larger than anything I was experiencing. The wisdom, the guidance, somehow I still felt support from it, even though it was often used in a way that was really negative and pejorative in terms of, scaring us into salvation and things like that. But what I feel now is there is a lot of wisdom in this scripture. So in your life right now, where's your focus? What are you ruminating over, wondering about? What's working you right now? What's dogging you? I want to help you move out of feeling victimized by life, or that like life is winning and you're, struggling to stay up with it. I want you to feel empowered by spiritual teaching, empowered by your own innate spiritual reality, that the energy that was known in Jesus the Christ is known in you, that the very presence of God in the universe is known in, through, and as you, that you yourself have so much power, and that the work becomes embodying that power and becoming really devoted to knowing it. I saw a motivational speaker, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name right now. I always like to give credit, but he said, discipline brings devotion. And you hear me often say about, taking time every morning to do your spiritual work. And I think if we start there, that we are going to more and more become conscious of our spiritual power. I think more and more we're going to become aware of our holy self, and that more and more we are going to be able to be in the driver's seat of where we go in our lives, because we are conscious beings seeking to make a difference. We're conscious beings seeking to grow, prosper, and evolve. We are conscious beings seeking to make the world a better place simply by being in it. So friends, I want you to remember that whatever you find yourself focusing on, if it's negative, see if you can figure out a way to shift your perspective on that and focus on what's good. Yes, there may be things to release. That's a part of the process. But then as you start to focus on what's good, then back that up with your working with your emotion on it. Let your soul guide you in what's yours to do now. Like, let your soul guide you in how you approach this new way of doing, this new way of being, and have your soul inform which of these aspects I talked about today might be yours to work on and embody. And you may have something totally different that I've said today. But what I'm talking about from the Bible, Philippians 4:8, is not a doing, it's really a being. And that being begins to saturate everything that we do. So I'm going to read it one more time for you to think about, is there an aspect of this verse that I'm supposed to pull out and work on? I'm working with the same idea for myself, and I'm going to be working with Spirit after this podcast. I'm going to be asking myself, okay, Spirit, is there something new from this verse, or do I have what I need? And is there another verse that's going to come forward to support me in my process? So again, from the scriptures, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about these things. My friends, this is my hope for you, that you will think about all the good, the true, the noble, the right, the pure, the lovely, the admirable, the excellent, and the praiseworthy, so that you can lift up your own life, so that you can be a light to yourself, to your family, and to the place in which you live and work. My hope is that as a community and as a world at large, that we can have more of us gathering together to do this work. As we do, we know the world will change for the better, lives will be changed and lifted, and in fact, of course, we'll receive a blessing, no doubt about that. So friend, I thank you for joining me. As always, it is my honor to support your spiritual journey. And again, if there's somebody you know that you think might benefit, hey, do a listen party or a watch party. That would be kind of fun. And if you ever want to gather a group together and you want me to jump on a quick Zoom call, I'd love to meet you in person. So just know that my goal is to support your journey, to lift up those that you live with, work with, and serve. And I'm happy and honored to do it. So thank you so much for listening today, dear friend. I look forward to seeing you next week, and blessings on the journey.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of The Authentic Spiritual Journey here on the Experience of the Soul podcast channel. This channel is made possible because of listeners just like you. If you would like to support the channel with your tax-deductible contribution on an ongoing basis or through a one-time gift, head over to experienceofthesoul.com/support. The Authentic Spiritual Journey is copyright 2023, Cynthia Alice Anderson, all rights reserved. Our theme music is composed by Dave Croft and used with permission from RR Hot Publishing. The Experience of the Soul podcast channel is a production of 818 Studios.